There's a lot of right angle trig in calculus. Now just as a quick review, remember if I have a right angle and the side opposite the angle, I'm going to call y, or opposite. The side adjacent to the angle is x, or adjacent, and r is of course the hypotenuse, the side opposite the right angle. Then we have Pythagoras, which tells us that x squared plus y squared is r squared. And then you remember the relationship between sine and the sides. Sine of theta is y over r, while cosecant of theta is r over y. So you remember that cosecant of theta is 1 over sine. Cosine is x over r, while secant is 1 over cosine, or r over x, and tangent is y over x, and cotangent is x over y. Another thing you really need to remember are the right triangles with integer sides. If you see a right triangle with these integers, these do appear on the non-calculator part of the test, and you just need to be able to recognize them. And you need to be able to recognize multiples, especially of the 3, 4, 5 right triangle. So let's look at this function right here. Excuse me, the point right here, the point -8, 6. The first thing I want you to do is to draw a triangle. Now you're going to notice this is my angle theta, and I'm going to put x is -8 and y is 6. Now I know this kind of goes against convention. This is how I do it, because sometimes on these triangles we're going to get negative signs. So for this, x is -8, y is 6. So let me find out what my hypotenuse is. You could quickly recognize this as a 3, 4, 5 right triangle, except that this is all multiplied by 2. So this is 3 times 2, this is -4 times 2, and don't let that negative sign bother you. So I can say that the radius is 3, 4, 5 times 2, or 10. Okay, you also could have used Pythagoras, that's fine, it doesn't matter. Your radius here is always going to be positive, but these two sides can be negative. So if I wanted sine of theta is 6 over 10, or 3/5. If I want cosecant of theta, I'm not going to go back through this, it's just flip this, 5/3. Cosine of theta is adjacent, or -8 over 10, or -4/5, while the secant of theta, I'm just going to flip this, is 5 over 4 negative. Tan theta is 6 over -8, or -3/4. So cotangent of theta is -8 over 6, or -4/3. Now we love doing this too in calculus. If secant of theta is the square root of 3, find sine and tangent of theta. Now if I give you something like this, go ahead and write up here, this is r over x. So I've got the square root of 3 equals r over x. So somehow this ratio has to equal the square root of 3. So let's do this. Now, do you see if I let r equal the square root of 3 and x equal 1, this is a true statement. So x is 1, r is the square root of 3. So now let's find y. I know the square root of 3 squared is equal to 1 squared plus y squared. So 3 is 1 plus y squared. So y squared is 2. Now this is very important. Y can be plus or minus the square root of 2. Remember, it's okay for us to have a negative length here. All right, so as soon as I have this, if I want sine of theta is going to be plus or minus 2 over square root of 3, square root of 2 over the square root of 3. So this is plus or minus the square root of 2/3. Now in calculus, you do not have to rationalize. What about tan theta? Well, that's going to be plus or minus the square root of 2 divided by 1, or just plus or minus the square root of 2.